This is Conpulse, the construction podcast. Built for the C-suite.
40 years in construction. That's not a career, that's a living archive of how an entire industry was built. Today's guest has seen projects to go from blueprints to landmarks, survived market crashes, weathered hurricanes literally, and has spent decades mastering the art of knowing what something should cost before a single brick is laid. As a Senior Vice President of Estimating at Burke Construction, a Florida firm that builds everything from luxury resorts, auto dealership, churches, disaster recovery projects, Dimitri doesn't just estimate numbers, he protects the entire project before it begins. Heartily welcome Dimitri to one more yet episode of...
Today I have an esteemed guest, Dimitri, Senior Vice President, Burke Construction. Heartily welcome, Dimitri. Very glad to have you here.
Appreciate the invite. Glad to be here.
Excellent. To begin with, you have a humongous career behind your back. Would love to, hear about your story. How have you, started your career, and probably, for the viewers to know.
Got it. Happy to share. So, I'm originally born and raised in Athens, Greece. Okay. I moved to United States, actually in Las Vegas in '91, where I got a degree in construction management from UNLV, University of Nevada, Las Vegas, and I have been estimating since '96. So I've been doing it for almost 30 years, nothing but estimating. So, and I find it's funny because I became an estimator because of a DISC profile. I took a DISC. I don't know if you're familiar with the DISC profile. I took that test fresh out of college, and the results came. Okay, you're an estimator, you just don't know about it, and that's how I got in it. So I've been at Burke since I joined Burke in 2005. Started as a senior estimator and just moved up the ranks. Now I'm a senior vice president, also part owner of the business.
Excellent.
And the business, Burke Construction Group, has been around, I think about a year ago, we celebrated our 40th.
Yes.
In business. We are a commercial general contractor. Volume-wise, for example, 25 for us was about 280 million. Awesome. I think 26 will probably be over 300 million. We're licensed in 26 states, but we only work where they invite us. In other words, we don't go chase work in markets that we are not, either we don't have a contact or we don't have a client to take us there. Currently, most of our work is here in Southern Nevada. We have some stuff going in California. We're about to start a decent side job in Fort Edwards. It's an Air Force base, about 3 hours from here. But heavy commercial. We don't do gaming work. In Vegas, you would think people only do casinos. Actually, we do not. We've done everything inside the casino you can imagine, but to go out and build a ground up, never done it. But heavy commercial, anything from multifamily, industrials, public work, schools, education, universities, you name it. So we're pretty well diverse in that market, in the market segments. That's about it.
Excellent. 40 plus years of, Burke Construction, and I think you completed 21.
Yes.
Right? Excellent.
Yes.
Awesome. It's a huge learning career. So how do you think, how pre-construction or, the whole estimating has evolved over the last 2 decades?
I got to tell you, estimators are what I call a dying breed. Most people, or most kids that come out of college, they don't want to come into estimating. I don't understand why. Don't ask me why. I don't have the answer to that. We recruit just about any major university within like a 3-hour range from here. So we're up in Utah, University of Utah. It's longer. It's up in Salt Lake. So ASU, UNLV, and most of those kids, they want to be NUPs. They want to be project managers, or some of them want to be superintendents. But when I ask the estimator, very few of them they want to take that position. And I mean, it is what it is. It's like I cannot. It's like complaining about the weather. There's nothing I can do about it, right? In our system here in our business, I have full-time about 7 estimators and 2 coordinators. Those guys have been with me I brought with me when I joined Burke. I brought a couple of them with me. But again, we are aging out of the market. Let me put it this way.
Okay. Excellent. And so last 2 years have been, AI has been driving. A lot of things are changing in the construction field. Takeaway, prices have changes. Tariffs have been so much dynamic, right? How do you see that? In the last couple of years, the industry has evolved.
Well, yeah. So I have a kind of a unique perspective to AI.
Okay.
So my mandate here at Burke, as far as how we do our estimates, is think of it this way. Let me put it this way. Why do you think people buy Rolex watches? Let me answer that. Because there's a status symbol and they're handmade.
Absolutely.
The same applies with the Ferrari. Why do you think somebody buys the Ferrari? Well, it's a status symbol, but it's a handmade car. So with AI, what we see a lot of is that kind of takes away from the special attention I think that's required when it comes to an estimate. Meaning, if I put the drawings to a platform, like Palcode.ai or whatever, right, and it kicks out my quantities, then in a way I kind of commoditize the process. So I'm not saying we don't do it. We use AI. We use AI to do constructability reviews, and we use AI to do some quantity takeoff. It's what do you do with that data, and how do you communicate that to your clients, right? That makes it unique. And I'm still kind of figuring that out, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. Every estimate we put together, it's for example, give you an idea, a $13 million job, which that's on the smaller side, it will be a 60-page estimate. We take off, and we don't self-perform any work, so we take off everything as if we're going to build it ourselves. Okay. So we take off sheets of drywall, square foot of carpet, linear feet of these, conduits, light fixtures, plumbing fixtures, and then we'll put it in a package. When people look at it, and every time I get the opportunity to sit in front of a client with this package, my odds increase by 50%. Okay. Right. So the first question they ask, how long did it take you to put it together? And now that's where AI comes in, because you can very easily shorten the duration, right? Because if I put it on the platform and then it kicks out, you got 300 light fixtures. Now, here's the catch. It's not going to tell you those 300 light fixtures if it's in one circuit, 2 circuits, or 50 circuits. And what we're finding out, and this is not just the last 2 years, the last 10 years, and I'm not going to make fun of my consultants, but I will. Architects don't like to do architecture anymore, and engineers don't like to do engineering anymore. So what we get drawings that they say they're complete, and they're not. They're half-baked documents. Okay. And here's why. Think about it, an engineer and architect, when they take on a project, is based on hours. In other words, if I'm an electrical engineer, I come up with a cost to design the project, I figure 2,000 hours, whatever. The moment they hit the 2,000 hours, that's where they drop the pencils. See what I'm saying? Now, we get those documents, we try to put an estimate together, next day I'm looking at it. That's where I think AI can hurt you, because it's not going to tell you, by the way, realize that room, but you need to have GFIs, for example, and you need to have dedicated circuits. It's not shown, right? An estimator, if you go and you count, and you actually physically count, if you're experienced, you will ask the question, but wait a minute, that's a GFI outlet. It doesn't have a dedicated circuit. And then you ask the question to the engineer, hey man, did you see that? Or why you didn't do it? He may know something we've done, right? So we see that with years kind of going away. So the drawings are incomplete. Estimators, they take shortcuts, right? And then I get an estimate I put together, put it out, and it's not complete. It has a lot of gaps in it. Now the documents, I'm bidding exactly what's on the documents, but those documents are not right. You understand what I'm saying?
Sure.
So with us here, when we do this detail, we flash most of those things out. And I'm looking at it, think of it this way, we're looking for boulders, not pebbles, right? If the gear is undersized, that's a boulder, right? Because think about it, if I don't catch it and it goes to production, I'm going to order the gear is going to be undersized, the gear is going to show up and install it. I turn the lights on, the lights don't work. That's expensive.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Bad example, but you know what I'm saying. Those are the kind of things we spend a lot of time here trying to fix, trying to address and solve for. And for the most part, we're doing a pretty good job at it, but it requires a lot of attention to detail, a lot of discipline, and having the experience. If you don't have that experience, you're just what I call it, you're driving blind.
Correct.
Right?
Correct. So if someone, a new estimator, or someone who has just recently started taking up these jobs, what are 2-3 things you will suggest where you have actually seen technology or AI has actually helped you to move the needle, right? Like, hey, look for these things, start adopting these things, probably it will be helpful so that, it can save some hours for them.
So I tell them, trust but verify. How do you know the data is accurate?
Correct.
You got to go back and back check, right? Another thing with AI, especially the ones that the software that they more or less they're selling on grid level, right? So and I play with them, and I'm sure, and they're great, right? So you take your bids, you upload them, right, and then it does it by itself. It gives you subcontractor A, B, C, D. Here's the pricing. Here's the holes that you may have based on the documents, and then kind of gives you a recommendation of what you should do. Nowhere there it has what I call the knucklehead factor, and I'm using it. It's a polite term. There's a worse one, right? So give an example. I have a concrete guy, let's say, and actually there is one like that here in town, in Vegas, who is just one of those guys who likes to argue for the sake of arguing. He knows that, most people don't want to use him because he's what I call a knucklehead. So what he does, he underbids the work all the time. Now, I know that guy because I've been here since 91. I've been doing estimating in Las Vegas since 95, so I can flash him out quick. Imagine if you're a new guy you don't know him. So you get his bid, he looks good, the proposal is perfect, everything is included, he spells it out for you, right? You run with him, right? You send him the contract, he executes the contract, he shows up on the job. The first thing he does is antagonize your superintendent, argues with the other trade partners we have, just what I call a knucklehead. See, that guy, AI ain't gonna catch. Because there's a human element that AI unfortunately hasn't figured out yet. And that's where I think the experience comes and having the conversation. And what happens with the young estimators, they're so good in hiding what I call behind the screens. Did you call him? Did you talk to this guy? How many jobs like that is he doing currently or he has done? How many guys does he have on the payroll? Is he easy to talk to? Is he a guy that will help you out if you're in a bind? Will he be a good trade partner with the other trades, right? Will he play nice what I call in the sandbox, right? Those are the things that AI cannot flash out yet. Maybe down the line, I don't know. But that's what I think the challenge is, right? Because one subcontractor, especially if it's in a key trade, completely can ruin schedule, right? He's going to delay you. Then he's going to antagonize your people. I mean, end up on that specific case, I actually had a superintendent who quit on me. He just said, I'm not getting paid to deal with this knucklehead. I'm out. Because he can go get a job down the street because the market is flush, right? You see what I'm saying? Those are the things. And all that stuff is done in estimates. It's not done in ops. By the time we get out of estimate, it goes to ops, you're already pregnant with this guy. You know what I'm saying?
Very insightful.
So this is like the best advice I can give to you guys.
Very insightful, I never thought from, this lens, right? How does, Burke plans to leverage these revolution, whatever is happening? Like, what do you think your top 2-3 challenges which you are facing currently day to day, right? Like, there is a lot of manual work, right? Where you think that something can be done, of course.
So I can tell you the bigger challenge right now is the quality of drawings we get is getting worse and worse by the minute. Okay. Like I said, architects don't like to do architecture anymore. Engineers don't like to engineer. Everything is the easy button. I'm dealing with a project, for example. It's a pretty prolific project here in Las Vegas. There are a lot of eyeballs on it. It's a memorial for the shooting that we had back in almost 10 years ago. The October 1st shooting. So we're building a memorial. So I got it's a big park. It's a memorial. It's about $40 million, right? And I got a light fixture package because it's very important for them, the lighting, right? So the electrical engineer, instead of actually doing the engineering, he more or less went to a vendor, a light fixture rep, and more or less did his design for him, spec'd out the light fixtures that he wanted, right? And then I'm the recipient of that. So next thing you know, I'm looking at one spec, one light fixture. He's the only guy to go get it. You know what happens next? Well, he knows he's the only guy. I'm going to so the first thing I do is like, no, open the spec. Everybody out of the pool, right? And then we're going to open the spec. And now you'll see the pricing starts getting level because guess what? If you're the only dentist in town and you need a root canal, you're going to pay a premium. You understand what I'm saying?
Correct.
So that's the thing we find out. and then incomplete drawings. They're not done. They say they're done. They're building for them because we do a fair amount of design build work. They're built for it that they're done, but when I go through it and I see, okay, you're missing this, you're missing this, you're missing this, and that's where AI can be very helpful, because AI can actually give you the standard of care that you got to produce, got to put in to produce a complete set of documents. That's why we use it. So we do what we call a constructability review through an AI software, which we're kind of still playing with it. That gives you all the missing details. It gives you references, because what happens with, as you know, with engineers, they use boilerplate details. So that detail doesn't apply. So take it out and put in a detail that applies, or just take it out. So that's where I think AI can be key to actually get those documents for 80% that we get them, maybe down to 95%, because there will never be, in the meantime, I'm a realist, there will never be a thing, what I call a complete set of documents. There's always going to be things missing, right? That's okay, like an estimate. There's always going to be things that we're going to miss, right? But if I can get me at 95% of those documents, that means I can get my estimate to 95%, maybe 98%. That 2% I can deal with. Those are the pebbles. I can call my guy, hey man, we missed the ledger angle, wasn't detailed right. Tell you what, man, how much is it? $20,000. Okay, help a brother out. I'll split it with you. You see what I'm saying? It makes those big problems so much smaller now, right? And I guess that's the thing that we're facing. Those are the biggest challenges we're facing currently.
Excellent. Right. So, what kind of current technology partners are you at Burke you are using, you plan to use, right, which can amplify the productivity of your team?
Sure. So definitely we're using as far as on the construction side, we're using drones. We fly drones every week. That gives you a good update on the progress, because our sites tend to be pretty big, so we'll fly them. We're also using a software that our project engineers, I can't remember the name of it. It's kind of like a camera that you walk inside the building and snaps pictures.
Okay.
So like if you ever get on Zillow and you walk in a home, it's exactly the same thing.
Understood.
So it does an art and it just takes pictures in the same spot, same picture. And then you can see when the wall is open, when the wall is closed. We're using that. Of course, everything is on Revit now, so we do class detection, so we do the 3D modeling. On the constructability review, we're using a software called Roger. Mm-hmm. Those are when we upload the drawings and they give us a list of items that they're not, either they don't belong with the drawings or they conflict with the drawings. And we're kind of playing with Palcode.ai for quantity takeoff. I am not 100% on board with that yet because of what I told you. Is I don't want that to be a tool to be used as a shortcut. I want my estimators to go through and take off everything, go through the details. Because when you do that, that's where you flash out, by the way, you show retaining wall, but the footing is not shown. Or you show retaining wall, and the only way you can do is when you take off the retaining wall. Where's the waterproof? Where's this? Where's that? Right? What kind of block is it? The block of concrete, and what's the finish on the block? What's the finish on the concrete? Asking those questions. Palcode.ai is not going to do that. You know what I'm saying? But we still use it and we come up with quantities, but I go back to my team and say, yeah, everything's got to be taken off.
Excellent. I'm very curious to understand, being a technology provider, what could be your wish list that, hey, this is, as a leader of estimation today, right? Hey, if this would have been solved by, the smaller problem, not the bigger problems. These are some 2-3 immediate problems. If a solution provider like us are willing to, solve for it, right, will move some needle or would be helpful, right? What I'm trying to understand here is, with 40 years of legacy experience, I think this problem would be present deeper in the industry in other places as well. Maybe people are trying to solve in a different way. What could be, 2-3?
I can tell you. Yeah. The bigger one is the constructability component. Mm-hmm. Are those drawings, when we get them, are those drawings buildable?
Okay.
That's the big, because an estimator can price it out in any different way, but are those drawings good enough so I can go, because they're maybe good enough to get a permit, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're good enough to construct it. Once you address that, and we actually get the consultants to actually produce a complete set of drawings, or we have technology to do it on their behalf. So, Mohit, I can tell you, I give you a point on that. In 25, we got paid in pre-construction services, because typically contractors, as you know, they don't charge for pre-con. The joke is it's free-con, that's with an F. Free-con, right? In 25, and it started back in 23 actually, but I can tell you 25, we charged and we built and we collected about $1.2 million in pre-construction. where we actually did that. Constructability reviews, fact-check the documents, did all the estimates on every given project. I may do anywhere between 3 or 4 updates on an estimate, so I was schematic design all the way to CDs or then to GMP, guaranteed maximum price. So while we're doing this, we're seeing that those drawings, they're not complete. And if we can figure that challenge out, it will make everybody's life easier. Because then I'm going after the consultants to finish the drawings. Keep in mind, those guys, again, it's all about hours, the billable hours, right? So I kind of force them to spend money. Otherwise, guess what? Especially if it's design build work, I hire them, they're not getting paid. I ain't gonna pay them. Finish your drawings. Imagine if I was building you a house and I put it without the bathroom. And you're like, I'm done. You'll be like, wait a minute, where's my toilet? See what I'm saying? It's the same principle. Well, you be surprised how many it's myths and methods. Really? Myths and methods? I can't tell you how many times I had this argument. Myths and methods? You're telling me that your steel stairways, it's myths and methods? What is the difference in the middle? Detail it. What kind of steel is it? 20 gauge, 18 gauge? How many railings? 3 or 4? What is it? Tell me. Put some details to it. You see, those are the kind of things I'm dealing with. Is it tan fill or is it precast? On and on and on and on. No, difference in the middle, myths and methods. So anyway, back to what I was saying is that it will make everybody's life easier because then it will flush out the inefficiencies in the drawings. It will provide a report. That report gets communicated to the consultants to see if they can finish them. If for some reason they cannot finish it, then it becomes part of my contract. I qualify my contract. By the way, this is not done, right? That whatever, let's say the curtain wall detail where you have an awning, that's not detail. The structural guy missed it, structural engineer missed it. Architect is not the structural engineer, blah, blah. I'll put an allowance of $100,000. I'll put a place for it. And maybe we figure it out. But the depth of an estimate, so you know, it's when you have 0. We completely miss it. And that's when bad things happen.
Excellent. Very insightful. Quickly touching upon, one or two last questions. You see that last 6 months plus, there's a lot of tariffs have changed, labor issues are happening in the US, right?
Yep.
How are you navigating these things? What are the best practices that you are following which other estimators can follow?
You gotta be very inquisitive. So I give you, for instance, I had an electrical contractor come to me. It's like, hey, I got hit by tariffs and I need to increase my bid by 10%. I'm like, okay, let's unpack this. Okay, how much is your labor? 30%. Okay, you're not gonna tariff labor now, are you? No, you don't tariff labor. That's off the plate now, off the table. Sure. How much your equipment? I got scissor lids, man lids, blah blah, right? Excavators, okay. Yeah, you're not gonna tariff that now, are you? I'm not. Okay, take that off the table. What's left? Your overhead and fee. You're not gonna tariff that now, are you? No, off the table. So we got now this. So we're talking about light fixtures and gear, for example. Okay, what are the light fixtures? Where do the light fixtures come from? Well, they come from Lithuania. Okay, Lithuania is American-made product. That's off the table now. What is the gear? Well, the gear is Siemens. I got it. It comes from Japan. There's a tariff there. How much is that? So from 10%, this thing got whittled down. In that case, it got whittled down to like 2%, 2.5%. That's how you do it. Now, what I'm facing is we have issues now with logistics because of what's going on with Iran, right? So price of gas is where it is now. It's very hard to make an argument because guess what? I know, I see it. And when I go to my clients, I'm like, hey man, when I did the job, diesel was at $4 a gallon. Now it's at $6. Right? So there's something there. So, but again, it's based on the same principle. Your labor is your labor, right? Now you can say, yeah, I got to pay them a little bit more because I got to give them a cost of living increase. I get it, but that's so small, right? That's how you do it. You just got to be inquisitive, and quite frankly, you got to make sure do not allow your trade partners to become what I call predators and opportunistic. Ask the questions and ask for proof. Tell me, show me.
Sure.
And when I do this, guess what? I get it.
Excellent. Very insightful thought. Right. I think it was very, very enriching conversation. Right. Anything else you want to share with the community from your, rich experience which can help someone starting their career in pre-con estimator?
The thing I would say is that definitely the construction industry on the pre-construction and on the estimate we are changing, and we're changing really fast. And that has to do with the amount of technology that's being used. However, people tend to forget what I call the human element. And the more time we spend behind those screens and sending texts where it's not even a dialogue anymore. It's just I'm just sending you an email. I'm just sending you a text. That's when I think the people who get it will advance far more in their career versus who do not. The ones that they like behind the computers and play with the software and play with all that. Those are the guys that actually will become what I call a commodity. The people who can actually look at the fog of war, I call it, because there's a lot of that in construction, and he can actually navigate through it and say, okay, this is going to get screwed up, and here's an opportunity there, for example. Those are the ones who advance. So you got to have that human component. You got to be smart when you're talking to somebody, see what ticks them, what is that they're trying to solve for. And don't make this where it's just an assembly line. The moment it becomes an assembly line, think of it this way, Mohit, it's like a can of tuna. I can go to Vaughn's and buy the same can of tuna for $1. I can go to Smith's and buy it for 99 cents. Then you get into the commodity business, and you don't want to be there because there's pressure. So the margins get affected. You know what I'm saying, right? So those are the best advice I can give.
Absolutely. Very, very grateful conversation here, Dimitri. Right? Truly insightful, and once again, thank you from the entire community. Right? I'll probably pause the recording.
This is Conpulse, the construction podcast, built for the C-suite.